with the words Princess Diana Memorial Walk. The location of this emblem is of significance also. Just look at where it is on the map. The belly of the serpent. Some may think that I am stretching things, but I believe this to be an esoteric confirmation of just how the royals literally swallowed her up. Now we move on and up to the head of that serpent with its open mouth. This is a fascinating place indeed. In the mouth of the serpent we have this ancient cottage. As you can see in the picture, it looks like something from a fairy tale, like the Wicked Witch of the West the White live in. My brother-in-law was in the Queen's Household Cavalry for 22 years, serving as a musician for the elites of state functions, etc. He has told me that this is the very cottage that the Duke of Wellington lived in back in the days when all the land around the palace was woodland. The Duke of Wellington was of Irish Protestant aristocracy, descended from the elite of the conquering Normans back in 1066. So he was, as some may say, a blue bloodliner. As can be seen in the pictures, the area is kept overgrown so that the centre of the island cannot be seen. However, if we use the feature at the top right of the map again, labelled Satellite, we can zoom in on this island and see that there is a small grey building amongst the trees. Interestingly, from the central bridge right next to the Diana Memorial Walk emblem, we can see this large pipe under the water. It leads right back to the palace and ends up being visible back on the island just to the left of that grey building. Finding an obvious function for that large piping eludes me. Only the non-obvious possibilities come to mind, like possibly out-of-sight transportation for something. As I was sitting outside the cottage and pondering its possible significances, I took this picture of the black swans around the cottage. If anyone has watched David Icke's interview with Arizona Wilder called Interview with a Mother Goddess, they will have heard her talk about the occultic significance of black swans. Diana's brother, it is said, had a dream of black swans and placed 4 metal models of them upon the island where Diana is buried. As I was sat there, an Interlink delivery van pulled up and unlocked the private entrance to the cottage. I asked the driver, "Who lives there?" And he replied, "No one really, it's just a storage place for paperwork and a chocolate box," whatever that means. Anyway, I felt a very strong presence of evil there, like it was some kind of dark focal point. Another thing that occurred here was that I became very aware that I was being watched. Some Christian types refer to it as a spiritual quickening. I was being followed and watched by at least one government spy. As he drew closer, I looked at him and smiled. All the while he stared at me with these strange, very cold and almost silvery eyes. He just stared intensely at my eyes as he slowly walked past me. I thought it strange that he was only looking at my eyes, but then it occurred to me that he was doing far more than just measuring me up. I had the sensation of him trying to read my mind. Fortunately, before I embark on any missions for the Creator, I always pray to be covered by the armour of God, from the Bible's Ephesians chapter 6. I feel sure that the helm of salvation that protects our minds came in very useful about then. Because I was not there just to look at the scenery and get info for an Edge report. He would walk away and then stop some 40 yards away, only to turn and stare at me again. It became clear that he knew that I knew. Maybe he was even another reptilian shape-shifting freak, who knows. Anyway, after doing my work there, I moved on towards the buildings of power across the street. Before I reached there, however, I came across a strange concrete sphere. If you look at the map again, just to the right of the serpent's mouth, you will see a short section of street that lines up with Downing Street. Around that spot is this concrete sphere shown in the picture on your Edge TV screens. The sphere is covered with depictions of doves. As many know, the dove is the symbol of the Roman goddess Diana, the Queen of Heaven. Basically, Ishtar, or Eve of the Satanic Trinity. Remember that when Yahushua Messiah was baptized by John, the earlier version said, "And a voice came out from the cloud, saying, 'This is my Son, in him I am well pleased.'" Now they say in Matthew, "And he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove," and in Luke, "And the Holy Ghost descended in a bodily shape like a dove." At the base, as I hope you can see in the picture, is written this statement. This is again where the esoteric hidden messages come into play. I don't know what this object is called, and so I have named it the Sphere of Doves. Many will read this and think it is some kind of war memorial statement honouring the dead, or even a memorial for Princess Diana. In reality, though, it is a blatant, in-your-face proclamation from the reptilian or serpent elite to all of mankind. You were robbed of your life. Your spirit enriches ours. I'll repeat that. You were robbed of your life. Your spirit enriches ours. And so, at the very mouth of the serpent, in its jaws one might say, we then come to the buildings of power. We have naval intelligence, the Ministry for War, the Ministry of Defence, Downing Street. Very close to that we have Whitehall and the Cabinet Offices. And not far from there is the Houses of Parliament and Westminster Cathedral. On the other side of those buildings we have the embankment, where Cleopatra's Needle and 2 sphinxes are placed, along with the Eye of Horus. To round off this report, I made a return to the sacred white bull in the secret garden behind the Houses of Parliament. This is the picture showing the entrance of the Black Rod. As you can see in this picture, that I forgot to take last time I was there, the bull is clearly pointing towards a central tree in this strange garden. The tree of fertility, which represents Eve. So once again, this entire scene is depicting the great beast, or serpent, coming into the garden and seducing Eve, all those many thousands of years ago. As you might be able to see in the photo, the garden itself is actually quite small, maybe 30 by 40 feet. The rest is just a heavily guarded car park. Many things are now set in motion, which will bring about strange occurrences. The Great Tribulation is indeed at our doorsteps. The horsemen of the apocalypse are indeed riding, and have been for some time. Because of the works done by people following the will of the Creator, the next step is for evil forces to react to that work. As Mr. David Icke says, for years the evil forces have used the problem-reaction-solution routine on us. Now the tables are turning, and this time it will be Satan's kingdom that gets the problems, evil forces having to react to those problems, and then desperately seeking a solution. Their only real solution, though, is to get the heck out of Dodge. I hope you have enjoyed this presentation that Andy has so kindly put together for us all. This is Edge Correspondent Stuart Harrison, Watchman X. All honour, praise, glory and power to Yahushua Messiah. Yah bless you all. Thank you.
Thursdays on the Edge.
The planes hit New York City. Thousands now are dead. It was Arab terrorists, this is what you said. Well, if that is the case, then what have you got to hide? What were you doing on the day of